as far as being unresponsiveness and especially agonal breathing, because as you probably know, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, how many lay people don't really understand what agonal breathing is. They think, oh, they're snoring, oh, they're breathing, but they're not really breathing. No, that's not snoring. that's not what that is. That's, you need to do CPR. So we really think it's important to have dispatchers go through training to better facilitate and help and coach the bystander responder to recognize that the person's really unresponsive and that they really need CPR started on them. So I think, I don't really think that's a surprise. I think if anything, it's probably a continuation from what we've said before in guidelines. This one, I don't know if, it's interesting for me. I don't know if this is a surprise to you. I don't know if this is going to be, oh yeah, it's a no-brainer. I think it just depends on kind of where you are and what kind of patients you see every day. But what we have added in basic life support for patients with known or suspected opioid addiction who are unresponsive with no normal breathing but a pulse, we're looking at administrating naloxone, otherwise known as Narcan, to them. And, I'm not really, let me have a show of hands. Does this surprise you, or does this? No. Okay. I mean, for folks who are paramedics, ACLS Narcan's been around for some time, so you've been exposed to it. You've probably done it. It's just now it's come down a little bit, had more exposure, and is now on the BLS side. But I think that's because, what's that? Yeah. It's because of the prevalence of these kind of emergencies, and we want, we want to save all lives. We want to, address special resuscitation situations, and this has sadly become one of them, all too common. So this is in regard to, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I would expect that it would be a first aid, because in my head I kind of see this like EpiPen. It's in with the CPR stuff? Okay. Okay. Right, okay. Okay. Yeah, I would expect it in both, either. Right, okay. Yeah, okay. And one thing that is also mentioned is the idea of multitasking. While you're assessing as a healthcare provider unresponsiveness, you're doing that and pulse check at the same time.
First question from the audience was, well, it should be in the first aid section. And then the chair says, yeah, it's in it with the CPR stuff. Isn't that confusing? And then the second question from the audience, well, it's respiratory emergency. That's what you're treating. Of course you are. Because it's a poisoning, drug overdose. These are the top people. These are the frontline responders, EMS, paramedics, ALS providers. They see respiratory emergencies 1,000 times before they're going to run into a cardiac arrest situation. And this is what Ontario's been teaching people. All these signs here, that proves your heart's beating. Dying, lack of oxygen. This is cyanosis. Color your skin, dying, lack of oxygen. This is now from the Ministry of Health. They've been teaching thousands of people to do that. and thousands of people listen, and then do this. Give them chest compressions, yes sir. Worst possible thing you could do. And they knew it right from the very beginning. Because it's supposed to be rescue breathing right here. If you don't have naloxone, continue rescue breathe until the EMS shows up. Their heart stops. They need advanced cardiac life support methods well beyond the scope of laypersons. This is what they're teaching at the safer consumption sites. Yes, rescue breathing. Because it's a breathing emergency like the hundreds of other causes of breathing emergency. There's nothing wrong with their heart. Keep them oxygenated, just like when an anesthesiologist overdoses you on fentanyl because it's short acting. The only thing keeping you alive is ventilations, rescue breathing. All the signs of drug overdose can mimic any other of the hundreds of causes of breathing emergency. Stop killing everybody, because these laypersons are eagerly giving chest compressions to respiratory emergency patients. That's murder. October the 15th, 2015. Email from Dr. Gordon Ave, the world expert on chest compressions only. A few days before, I sent him an email about what they're doing in Ontario. So, it's unbelievable, you betcha. Teaching people and patients in a coma, labored breathing, cyanotic, pinpoint pupils, give them chest compressions only. I made a deputation to the Board of Health, as many other people, about this prescription for life training. Given out since 2011, September, I was one of the first people to take this training. Worst possible thing you could do to anyone suffering any respiratory emergency, their hearts beating, their dying lack of oxygen. So, no murder. These are my moderated comments in the 2015 AHA and ILCOR guidelines on opiate overdose. And this is Canadian Journal of Public Health, here Journal of Public Health, teaching chest compressions only. Anyway, this is the signs you get taught. These training sessions are anywhere from 30 minutes to 90 minutes long. I've taken them. All these signs here prove your heart's beating. You don't even have to check for a pulse. And then this is the instructions that started in 2011, which have changed. They've changed it to step 3 is chest compressions only. Whoa, whoa, whoa. See, naloxone's not going away if you're in cardiac arrest. The naloxone's not going anywhere. There's no blood flowing. And this is some of their training literatures up here. And this is a 2010 the ILCOR guidelines, which Dr. Laurie Morrison was co-author for the naloxone. Ventilation, rescue breathing, assisted by a bag valve mask. That's rescue breathing for lay responders, followed by naloxone and tracheal intubation if there's no response to naloxone. Well, tracheal intubation is rescue breathing for a lay person, because naloxone doesn't always work. Yes, sir. Okay. You teach people all the signs of respiratory emergency, they're going to do it. 28,000 children poisoned per year. And this is the reference number 26 to the 2010 guidelines. Laurie Morrison also wrote that. She also wrote the medical director give chest compressions only. She threatens me all the time. She knows this is wrong. Basic life support, rescue breathing. And then I posted a response up to Dr. Michael Daly. He's also commented in there. It's not showing right now. Anyway. Nature of overdose. Yes, sir, that's a respiratory emergency. There know of a whole bunch of non-drug overdoses killed with chest compressions they were never to receive. This is another article from Dr. Daly here. In a pre-hospital said by laypersons, police, EMTs, paramedics, respiratory depression and respiratory arrest. Yeah, you give them air. That's for sure. 10-year-old child takes a first aid course. It's rescue breathing, they're not gonna die. And this is non-EMS personnel. Overdose mimics, yeah, there's lots. And then I got one of my comments up from the gathering of visuals. That's 50 of the top EMS people, the medical directors, at a conference. And then Emily Oliver posted a comment. She's up in RN. More research needed regarding educational effectiveness. Well, I've known for 5,000 years, eat too much opium, you die, you stop breathing. This is the 2010 European guidelines. Respiratory depression followed by respiratory insufficiency, respiratory arrest, and then your heart will stop because you're brain dead from lack of oxygen. And the prognosis is very poor, so give them air only, yes sir. It's a poisoning. Don't be killing everybody on purpose. Heart and Stroke Foundation sent Toronto Public Health and Dr. Laurie Morrison carbon copied this about chest compressions only. Heart and Stroke Foundation sits on the resuscitation guidelines. I sent them to Toronto Public Health literature on chest compressions only for opiate overdose. See, just like all medicine says, response to a cardiac arrest situation. For a lay responder who witnesses a cardiac arrest. There's only 15,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests in Ontario per year, and the signs of sudden witness cardiac arrest are totally different than a respiratory emergency. So they CC'd them and then they didn't do any follow-up. Crazy people. John Hopkins, manager at the Works, August 2017. Works is given nothing but respiratory assist because they got a safe rejection site. And there's Dr. Laurie Morrison. Jeepers. I don't know why she threatens me all the time. St. John Ambulance says past, present, future, whatever, you gotta breathe once every 5 seconds, don't you? Yes, sir. So, there's hundreds of causes of breathing problems, and they need air. You ever been punched in the chest or the stomach or the throat? Yes, sir. It makes it hard to breathe, so you don't give chest compressions. You breathe for adult once every 6 seconds and once every 3 seconds for a child. You don't murder them with chest compressions. There's nothing wrong with the heart. It's a breathing emergency like they've known for 5,000 years. It's written about in the dang Bible, Old and New Testament. And you learn it in public school and again in high school about how the heart and lungs work.